treating the Shen through the body, through the Shen. There's, it's a really beautiful play on words. But, I asked, what subjects, I asked the organizers, what subjects would you like to, what does it mean to you, emotional issues, psychological or emotional issues? And they said, whatever you like. Well, it's a little odd. So I decided I'm retitling the class, and it's called Shen a la carte, okay? Which means I'm going to ask you first, what are you interested in? So I understand that it's a little hard and you can change your minds, but yes, you can record. That's totally fine. What I'm going to ask you is, what would you like me to speak about? Now, actually all of you have never, I don't think I've ever seen any of you before. I might be wrong. So you don't really know me. So it might be hard to say, well, I want to know about this when you don't know who I am. So you can change your mind partway through the lecture, through the class. That's totally okay. But for now, if there are things that can anchor us, so you can say, I'm interested in blah, blah. I'm interested in, whatever. So.
I'm interested in anxiety.
Anxiety, all right.
Panic attacks.
My handwriting is terrible. As long as I know what it says, it's good. Anything else? Depression.
I want to know the influence of the SSRI pills on the body. Because sometimes
I'm the wrong person to ask.
no, because several times people take pills for depression and for anxiety, and when
become balloons.
And it doesn't help them.
Have you ever had somebody come for acupuncture and it didn't help them?
Yes.
Why do you think the serotonin reuptake things should be any different? But no, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. And you had?
Bipolarity.
Bipolar.
Bipolar. Isn't that basically?
No, bipolar is not.
No, I understand, but it's depression with, it's a switching depression.
Manic.
It's sort of manic. Yeah. It's enthusiastic, yeah.
OCD.
Okay.
You can depression and also mania with depression.
This is the
Isn't that the bipolar?
Oh, okay.
No,
what about
sometimes
ADHD? ADHD, but it's neurological thing.
it's okay. It's still the Shen.
Boosting motivation, intention, and will.
You don't have a title.
Subconscious controller.
Motivation, intention, and will. All right. Cool. Yes.
Maybe trauma?
Trauma.
Shock.
Eating disorders.
Eating disorders.
Smoking.
It's
sort of
addictions.
Addictions, yeah. Addictions.
That's fine. Okay, cool. All right. So I get the picture.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, and it's all very much the same in a sense. It will be interesting to see how much of it kind of overlaps and how much supposedly. Okay, so let me tell you something about the style first, okay? So you may know, you may not know, you may have chosen the class because it's Japanese acupuncture, you may have chosen the class because it's Shen, so I don't know which way you went. So my style is I poke abdomen, I poke the body, I use the body to determine what to do. So many of these differentiations are not going to be so exact, but also for those of you who know something about this style, one of the things that I see throughout the world as a mistake, in my opinion, about the way people utilize it, people think you have this reflex in the abdomen, do these points. Yes, we have many maps like this. So you have adrenal shock, you do kidney 6, kidney 27, for example. Okay, you have REN 15, which we call worry reflex. Okay, like your OCD supposedly should have REN 15, right? What I'm going to tell you is that they're interchangeable. REN 15, REN 17, REN 9, very hard to tell which is which. We have names for them, and we say, this is anxiety 17, 15 is worry, 9 is, we used to call sadness, we no longer do. But, we can say that, but it's not so clear, okay, that they really are. And we can say, for REN 15, do spleen 3 plus something on the pericardium. Okay, so we have a bunch of rules, or protocols that we say, do this for this, do this for this. But that's really and you will get results by doing that, but that's not really what I do. Okay? What I do is really look at what the person comes with, and I start treating who is this person as I can see from the body. So sometimes I might treat people for adrenal shock even though they don't show it. If there is another reason in the history to assume that, and if adrenal treatment, so-called kidney 6 plus 27, this is for the ones who have already heard so much of this dogma, okay? If that clears lots of the abdomen, they don't have to show official below kidney 16 as the reflex. Okay? It can come from the medical history. All right? So the mixing of the medical history into this is the most important part of this style. Consider the medical history, figure out the diagnosis, what you think is the diagnosis, according to what the body shows you and what the person tells you. Do not just put a person on the table and just treat them. It is possible to do that. I do that every so often. Sometimes we don't have time, but we need to listen. We need to hear what happened to this person. Why do you have panic attacks? Not necessarily. Oh, my mother did this to me and blah blah blah. Yes. It's like, this can take. Psychologists work an hour at 55 minutes, not an hour. Like for many, many weeks before, and what did your mother do to you when you were 3 years old? That's not our job. That's not what we do. Okay, so I'm not advocating that unless you happen to like that. But you do need to know, I fell on my tailbone when I was 5 years old, or I had asthma as a child, or we don't know what they have. We need to know, and it's very common for Chinese medicine people not to know Western medical history, and that's not correct, in my opinion. It's very important that you know the medical history, because then you can see maybe that injury, that thing is left, okay, and because of that, now the body or the mind or whatever you call it, body-mind continuum, is stuck in a problem. Okay, and we'll go through a bunch of situations that are very clearly related. For example, thyroid conditions are very clearly related. Anybody with an autonomic nervous system disorder, for example, they have weird blood pressure. It doesn't have to be high. So always ask your patients, what is your blood pressure? Because if it's low, it's probably an autonomic nervous system disorder. Okay, if it's weird numbers, for example, 120/60. Sounds perfect,
Right.
but it isn't, because the difference is 60. It's too big a difference.
Yeah.
Or I'll give you another number. 105/80 officially is perfectly fine, but 105 is, the difference is only 25. It's too low. So chances are their nervous system, the systolic and diastolic, are not adjusting very well. Okay, so you see, I'm looking at all these things very much from a physical perspective. Ultimately, it's going to come down to, is my nervous system able to give me space? Okay? So, if you don't mind, put both feet on the floor. This class is also experiential. All right, I'll do a fair amount of exercise in the body. So, close your eyes. Breathe out 3 times. See yourself in a room. In the center of the room, there's a box full of balloons, already blown up. Pick up a balloon of a color you really like and take it to the door or the window of the room. If the door or window are not open it up. Allow yourself to float up to the sky with a balloon. Hover here until you find a place you really like. When you see that place you really like, give the balloon string a little tag and land at the place you like. Enjoy the air. Notice what time of day it is. Just enjoy being here. And open your eyes. Anybody would like to share where they landed?
I landed in the park,
In
an open park.
Open
It
park?
was a beautiful day. It was noon, approximately 1, 2. The weather was great.
That's
Not
good enough.
summer, not winter.
It's good enough. That's all we
Green
need.
and blue.
Did you have some? Oh, you're just stretching.
Yeah, no, I landed in Laos village.
In a Laos, in Laos. Okay. What time of day?
I think in the morning.
Okay. Was it in the middle of the village or something?
Village at the top of the hill,
Okay.
surrounded with
With fields?
trees.
Trees.
Forest.
Okay, fine. Anyone else? Good. Anybody land in a dark cave with snakes and scorpions? I hope not. Okay, good. If somebody ever tells you that, you know that there's a psychiatric disorder here. Go to a place you really like. Yes, I love dark caves, with snakes and scorpions on top of it. It's kind of weird. Notice that the two people that shared, they landed in a place that has space. They landed in a place that has light. Okay? Space and light are essential components of healing. Without those, there's no healing. I'll add to that, you don't see that from the image, the knowledge of new possibilities. If you don't believe new things are possible, then things won't move. So there has to be some capacity to move. Okay? So space, light, and knowledge of new possibilities. Now, I don't know what style of acupuncture you guys use, but let's say you are, everybody that comes in gets large intestine 4, liver 3. Okay, there are people like that. There are acupuncturists like that. We all know that it exists. I'm not inventing this. Is it true that everybody who gets up from not everybody, but 95% of the people get up from a treatment table, or 99%, regardless of the symptom, they say, oh, I like this. Feels very nice, right? It almost feels sometimes like, I'm not doing anything. Why are they so happy? No, especially when, excuse me, is your shoulder better? And they say, no, my shoulder is still bad. But they feel there's a certain happiness that needles seem to induce. Is that kind of most people's experience? We need to learn to utilize that, because basically what we're doing is we're giving people space and light. Take some time, lie down. Now our problem is we need to direct the treatment towards the problem. Okay? But at the base of it, we're offering them spaciousness. Okay? We're offering them a chance to open up their mind. Okay? So that's it for the Space Cadet stuff. So the Shen, the character Shen, is, people say spirit, it's actually a mistranslation. Shen should really, to me, should say something like animation. It's something that comes down from heaven, that part on the left. It comes down from heaven, so it was given to us. Okay, the ancestors, the Chinese say, the ancestors stand at the ancestral court, and they send the Hun down to experience, what is it like to live in Israel in the 21st century? They're curious. What is it like to have Bibi Netanyahu, and ISIS and blah blah and blah. It's like they're curious. They're from the 12th century. Whatever. They want to know. Now you have to. The character. Zen. Okay, meditation. Mm-hmm. Zen. In Chinese, Chan. Chan means one ancestor. To meditate means to understand I have one ancestor. Meaning, it's not your ancestors from the 12th century. from wherever your parents came from, Hungary, Morocco, whatever. No, it's the universal ancestors. There are no nationalities involved. Okay, no religions, no nothing. So we are a continuation of all humanity. And we extend this thing, that mandate that was given to us from heaven, we extend it through our life so that when we, quote unquote, go back to the ancestors, we report, oh yes, Israel at this time was like this, or China at this time, So we're accumulating the experiences of all humanity, in a sense. Okay? This is what the Shen is. Okay? So literally by character. Okay, so to say it's a spirit is a little bit, it gives it a connotation. It's if you want to do something spiritual, you should be talking about the ling. The ling is something that came down from heaven, also the rain that came down from heaven, but it has the shaman character underneath it. 2 people communicating across the veil and 3 mouths. Okay, so it's the capacity of someone to bring down rain. It's something that you can cultivate, to talk across worlds. Okay, that's spiritual. The Shen is not spiritual at all. It just is. It's just, everybody has a nature. Okay? But in order to extend the nature, the mind, okay, has to be able to connect. What's the purpose of living if we don't connect? Okay? So already in many, I know you can't read this list, but one you gave me, depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive addictions, this is where it's also similar. Okay? These are generally people who will not connect with the world. Okay? Or they overconnect with one aspect, or they overconnect with themselves. They see only one thing. To connect also means to be open. Okay? To have all possibilities as an option. Yes? So, sometimes we think I'm connecting, I'm touching, but I'm not, I'm only connecting. If all I see is this, I'm not really connecting. I have to connect with, I have to. It will be nice if I can connect with everything, okay? So, how can we create space? So, in many of these, the anxiety, the panic attacks, the depressions, even the trauma, and many of the eating disorders, etc., come from a place where, or have an aspect where a person is not able to open and connect with the world as it is, whatever that might mean. I don't know. I can't say I know what the world actually is. But, and we latch onto a particular aspect. So suddenly we have an emotion that overrules us. The obsession, for example, or the depression, the sadness, or anger. Or whatever that one emotion is. So, in the Buddhist tradition, there is this understanding. The Buddha offered this teaching to his son, Rahula, and he said, "You should be like water. When you put salt in a glass of water, the glass of water is very, very salty. But you put the same teaspoon of salt in the river." At that time, people still drank from rivers. Now it's not so, but a nice lake. You put a teaspoon of salt in a big lake, you don't taste the salt. It's not a problem. Okay? So ideally, our emotional life is like that. You can enjoy the salt. It's not a bad thing to enjoy sadness. You can enjoy sadness. It's all right. I mean, when you listen to certain kind of music, for example, you might be listening to Brahms or something. There's a sadness, but you can enjoy it. You enjoy it by connecting rather than locking. So it's the ability to open rather than to lock that creates space for us. So the Chinese say it very much the same way. The heart should be larger than any one feeling or emotion. We should always have more space in the mind, in the heart, than one emotion. Once one emotion takes over, there's a big problem. Right? So on the one hand, we need space, and then the other big pathology that we will find in many people with so-called Shen disturbances would be they have no concentration, or they're overly concentrated. Now, I know it sounds contradictory because they can concentrate on the one thing that bugs them, but they can't be there. And we literally see it in the body. They have no strength between the legs. They have no, what you might call core strength. Okay. So the Shen needs to be connecting, spacious, free, but it also needs to be, maybe the word disciplined is a little bit too much, but it needs to be focused. Okay. And that usually requires discipline. Okay. So it's important to do that. Okay. So if you haven't noticed, you haven't surmised already, I do come from a Buddhist tradition, as opposed to a Taoist tradition, so that influences how I see things. So this thing up there, Guan Yin is in China, if you're not a Buddhist, she's just the goddess of medicine. Okay, many people talk Guan Yin, right? The character Guan means to look deeply. Also, it's the translation of Vipassana. Okay, Vipassana means to observe. It means observing sound is what her name means. To observe the sounds, that's why she's the bodhisattva of compassion. She listens to the cries of the world. Okay, or rather she observes the cries of the world. By the way, I recommend you don't need to write too much. Hopefully we will get this video out and you can re-see whatever you want to re-see. Because if you write all the time, especially when there's a patient on the table, it will be confusing for you. It's just too much energy. So, if you want to write things, that's fine. So, in the Heart Sutra, which is a very big deal in China and Japan, Avalokita, who is the observer, okay? So, let me see if I don't know how to make the red thing go. Oops, no, that's not it. Oh, that makes it smaller. Okay. Oh, I have no idea how this works exactly. Okay. Was it bigger before? Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the pointer. Okay. Okay, you see this part of the character? This is a big eye. This is this also. Jan. Okay, it's a big eye on feet. So you see. Okay, it's very important to see. Eyes are very important. Eyes are how we perceive the world, especially in our culture, right? We're all looking. We're not hearing as much. Notice that the Chinese were looking at hearing a lot more. How come we don't have so many points around the eyes? We have so many more points around the ears. Because to them, in that era, you heard things. You didn't read. Most people didn't read. Okay? So, it's not because they're afraid. The Chinese are not afraid to needle right inside the eye. They don't care. So they could have put 30 points around here. But they only put 4 or 5. They're not that, so there was something about the ear. And they're right in some ways because the hearing is a vibration. So there's something that connects you in the world. The very first character, let me see, this one, Jiao. Okay, so this is in the Heart Sutra, the Bodhisattva Avalokita. She's sitting, in the deep course of perfect understanding is how it says. Shed light on the 5 skandhas, my own body and feelings and perceptions, mental formations and consciousness, and found them equally empty. Empty is very important in Buddhism. So everything is interrelated. After this penetration, she overcame ill-being. The 2 big things here is shed light, Jiao, okay, and what is ill-being defined as? Ill-being is defined as ku. Ku is the same as ku Shen, okay, the bitter herb, the bitter root, okay, okay, the Sephoria, okay. Ku is bitter. How is ku written? It's the top is a grass, okay, and underneath it is the number 10. This is a grass that's been around 10 times or more. Okay, so what does it mean? It's old. It's it's withered. Therefore, it's bitter. You eat grass that's fresh. It's like yummy. You eat grass that's kind of like it's been around 10 seasons already. Chances are it's going to be bitter. Okay, so basically you can see this character at the top, the most right-hand character. I'm not going to do too much of this, so don't worry. You can see it's a person who's like standing like this, right? They're stooping over, okay? Ill-being, basically tells you it's something posturally happens when you start to wither and sink. You're going to have distress. You're going to have ill-being. Okay, it's pretty obvious. You're congesting all your organs, right? But emotionally as well. Okay. What's the antidote to that? To observe my own self, jiao. Where do we have a jiao in the body? Kidney 6. Jiao hai. Okay. To shed light on the ocean, or they call illuminating sea or something like that. What is the ocean? The ocean is the ocean of life. Okay? So that makes kidney 6 a super important point. So stand up. What you're going to do is this. You will be sending the heel down to the floor. If you have heels, I suggest taking them off. It'll be easier. Keep spleen 3 on the floor. You're going to find that in a moment you're going to want to do this. So keep spleen 3 on the floor. Spread your toes. Send the heel, push the heel into the floor, but lift the ankle bone away from it. So heel down, ankle bone up. So you're separating kidney 6. So let it all flop. Heel down, lift the ankle bone away from it. Notice you want to roll over to the bladder channel. Don't let it happen. And tell me what you're feeling. Someone. You're feeling something in the thighs. Fabulous. What do you feel? Do you feel inside your legs also?
Yes.
Because it jumped a little bit too fast. All right. Do you feel that? No.
Yeah.
Are you big toes on the floor? Okay. Let go of your hands. Send your heel down. Lift the ankle bone away. So it's like you have a straw between your legs and you suck it up. Do you feel it the inside of your legs? Fabulous. All right. Yes?
No,
All right.
I didn't understand.
Can you repeat the instructions again?
Yes. Heel down, ankle bone away. Heel down, ankle bone up. And
Oh, so-
keep spleen 3 on the floor. You don't have to lift your toes. I'm doing it just to show you. Does that make sense? Can you do it? Maybe? Push, push. No, push it. Yes. Now lift this away, but keep pushing. Lift this away. Do you feel it now? Maybe. All right. I won't force you. Later. All right. So you see how the activation of kidney 6 lifts the body up? Yes? All right, good. That's all we need to do with this exercise.
Do you want to go larger
If you know how,
through the computer?
please. I think everybody will appreciate it. All right. So, coming back to Chinese medicine, Ling Shu chapter 33 talks about if there is, oh, thank you. When there's 4 oceans, the ocean of marrow, the ocean of qi, the ocean of blood, the ocean of grains. Okay? Each one of them, too little is not so good. This is the symptoms. Too much is not so good. These are the symptoms. These are the points. Ocean of marrow, too little is not good, but too much is fine. It's actually a good thing. What happens when you have too lots of marrow? You have what's called qing jing jiu li, meaning qing, the first character, is light easefulness. Okay, jing is steadiness. So you have strength and steadiness with lots, to li, strength. It's like a knife, that last character. Okay, so qing is a very important thing to have according to Ling Shu 33. Okay, when I have lots of marrow, I'm going to have this easefulness. Okay, so the Shen needs easefulness. Okay, so we have this concept qing an. Okay, peaceful. An means peace. Okay, there's a woman under the roof. Everything is peaceful. Okay, sorry. 2,000, 3,000 years ago, they had weird, not weird ideas, but not the same ideas we have. Okay, like a good how is woman and child together is a good. It's like why papa and child can't be together is good. I don't know. Maybe the child's crying no food. So it's a culture. So the opposite of qing, okay, and this, okay, is jiaoju. Now this character here, ju, Okay, which means the opposite. Okay, in regular language, for example, in every language I've researched, when I go teach around the world and I ask, how do you say, the opposite of easefulness? And, like in English, we say restlessness.
Mhm.
Okay, it's always in the negative.
Mhm.
Okay, like in Hebrew also, choser menucha or something like that. There's different ways to express. It's usually in most languages it's in the negative. That it's always something missing. The opposite of ease. Ease is a quality, and the opposite of ease is always somehow. All humans, up to now, seem to define it as something lacking. Same in Chinese. You can say no peace. Buan, or the more technical term, in Buddhist understanding, is jiaozhu. Okay, this ju here, this is the thing that I'm. So jiao means dropping. Okay, what did you drop? You dropped the lift. Okay, now do you see here this one and this one? This is like two hands that are lifting you up. This is going to be very important. Now, if you combine those two things, this actually etymology. You'll have to forgive my Chinese. Remember, Shen is. This is Shen. This, I know to you it looks like center with an extra line. It's not. This is really two hands coming together, lifting. That's exactly this thing here. Okay, so the part of extending in Shen is that Jew at the top of the Jew, which is also a Jew. Okay, they're not Jewish; they're just Jew. So, what it tells us now we're coming back to acupuncture for real. Okay, it means to lift, and because so many disorders, how many people do you have come into your clinic and they're like this, or this? Of course I'm exaggerating. Very few people literally come like this. But most people, you will notice, it doesn't matter if they stick the butt out. They're going to sink in the spleen shu area. This is going to be sunk. This is a high exaggeration of pushing my butt out and sinking at the base of my ribs. But that's what most of us tend to do. Okay? So lifting, finding the lift from the legs is very difficult for people. How can we help them? Find that so they can have space, because who was it? You said, I can already feel it in my chest once I activate kidney 6. So yes, we can start with kidney 6. We can also do, we use a point, liver 9, but on the kidney channel, we call inner yin. Mm-hmm. Okay, the Chinese call new UB37, Xin Yin Men. Okay, if you look extra points, the exact same point they call Xin Yin Men. Okay, Yin Men is UB37. Okay. So coming from the sides to lift is going to be a huge aspect of treating the Shen, meaning number one, Shaoyang is going to come very handy because it's from the sides, and we use lots, triple warmer 5 or triple warmer 8, which for us is 1/3 below the elbow. Okay, if I say triple warmer 8, this is where it is. It's not somewhere down here. Okay, sorry, it's just the way we do it. And it's going to mean I use a point. Lots of people say to me, Avi, you are in love with Mushu. Okay? Mushu is take Ren 4, go straight to the side. This is gallbladder 27 before they moved it to be in the daimai here. This is totally to the side. By the way, I'll get back to this. You've learned in school gallbladder 26 is where? Daimai. Mm-hmm. Level with the navel, and then they want you to go under the 11th rib. Yeah. It's like, excuse me, are you kidding? Like, it makes no sense. Okay? Historically, this is where it came from. Historically, gallbladder 26 was straight out here. Just go to the side. It's pretty obvious, right? It's gallbladder. Okay, and therefore 27 and 28 could have been here, or some people, there was always an argument about this, apparently. So, but what Li Shizhen did, Li Shizhen is a very famous, 12th century, something like that, physician. He's way more important than anybody we know, okay, personally at least. Okay, Li Shizhen wrote this big treatise on 8 extra channels, and this is like the very beginning, very, very beginning of starting to maybe use the opening points for the 8 extraordinary channels. Before that, nobody talked about pericardium 6 opens the way. And it was formalized later, and then the coupling of that is done through the Gachang Genju. Okay, 1601 is really when you have this. Pericardium 6 goes with spleen 4, kidney 6 goes with lung 8, lung 7, those kind of, that didn't exist before. Okay, so the, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. No, it's not your fault. So Li Shizhen said daimai has to do with releasing dampness. Where does dampness come from? Comes from the spleen. Therefore, daimai must connect with liver 13, zhangmen. Okay, if it connects with liver 13, so it starts in the spleen, starts with liver 13. I can't make it go back to gallbladder 26 and go. It doesn't make sense for him. So he said, you know what? Sorry, the other way around. He said, yeah. So he said, I can't have gallbladder 26 on the side. Let me move the point. The point is now under the 11th rib, level with the navel. Okay? If you're Li Shizhen, you're allowed to do this. And everybody follows you, and to this day, every textbook you will open is going to say gallbladder 26 under the 11th rib. But that is not what you saw prior. Okay? So that's fine. So in the same way, if I take this down and go level with Ren 4, it's under the bone. You will find a fair amount of gumminess here. Fabulous point. First of all, great replacement for Ren 4. We don't needle Ren 4 if somebody has a slow pulse, for example. Autoimmune disorders, Ren 4, by the way, very important for the head. It's called Guan Yuan. Okay? Yuan. This is the head over 2 feet. This is the yuan. This is not the same yuan as in source points. It's a different one. This means primary, not source. Source has the character for stream. That's the source of the river. This is primary. Primary, the most important. Okay, so Guan Yuan has this yuan. Has head in it. Ren 4 is an extremely important point for head problems. Postpartum depression. They injured Guan Yuan, right? They push too much. Okay, and then they have symptoms in the head, depression in the head. Okay, so we have a pattern called stagnant blood in the head where we can find pressure or heat around D20. Okay, so I use Mushu, level with Ren 4, to lift up. Okay, I might start with kidney 6, add inner yin, so I'm trying to paint that lift that you create and give the person that feeling. And you can finish with possibly stomach 9. I use sometimes points that have tension here because people try and lift themselves from here. Okay, so to release that so they can find their legs. If you have legs, you have something to stand on. You can connect with the world. If you don't, you are going to be anxious. Okay, you've got to find your legs, metaphorically and or physically. Okay? Or I might use Yubito as the continuation, as a way to coordinating the 3 dantians between Mushu and something in the head. Okay? Because coordinating the 3 dantians, the dantians are different than jiaos, yes? The dantians, lower dantian, middle dantian, upper dantian. Okay, the jiaos end here. Okay, they're different. So these cinnabar fields, okay, are.
Can you clarify again the position of gallbladder 27?
Better not call it gallbladder 27. Mushu, between the mu and the shu. Okay, level with Ren 4. Go straight to the side. You will be under the hip, under the bone, above the trochanter, but under the hip bone, under the crest of the bone, and you will find gumminess. Not just under. It will be somewhere under. Level with Ren 4 is the main thing.
Is it gummy feeling?
There will be, yeah. There's a lot of muscle there. Okay, it's the attachments of the glutes, I believe. Okay, I'm not the best person in anatomy. So, is that okay? All right. So, I use that a lot, but this concept of lifting, providing the lift is important. Okay? If you're ever stuck with a patient, so you know, I told you lots of people do large session 4, liver 3, that's their standard treatment. I have no idea what to do. Start lifting them up. No problem. It provides something, yes.
Well, a lot of times I see actually that's everything is up here.
Yes, because they have nothing. Okay, fine, but they're really sinking. They're trying so hard to do. If I'm up here, I can always very feel it in my feet. My feet are not. I don't have anything here. So very often people who have back pain, if you fix their scapulas or the neck, the back pain goes away because you're forcing them to find something between the legs and use it.
Still pick them up if they're.
Sorry?
Even if they're all here, you would still pick them
They're
up.
all, yes, because this lifting, I'm not lifting them up from here. I'm lifting them up by squeezing them, meaning and activating the legs. Kidney 6. So someone like that, maybe you must have do kidney 6 before. It's a decision you have to decide on how you think. But yes, absolutely. All these people who are like up here, it's because they ain't got nothing there. They're trying to create the lift. They're desperately trying to create it. They just can't.
It's not just about rising something, it's about giving this.
It's not rising in the sense that you're thinking of like young rising or something. It's not that kind
It's
of.
more earthish, holding support.
Yes, there's a holding thing there. It's related in some ways to, for example, gallbladder 41. To Lingqi, the leg tears dropping. That character has to do with gathering, both reclining and upwards. So you can see how Daimai is related. Interesting why they chose gallbladder 41 for Daimai. So there's this and this in it.
The spiral, the diamond spiral.
Well, yeah, it's complicated. I mean, I don't, first of all, because I'm not sure if we're speaking the same language, so it will take more negotiations to understand that.
Do you treat bilaterally?
Sorry?
Do you treat bilaterally?
In this case, if you're lifting, yes, absolutely bilaterally. Because, do you want to lift one side? Do you know what I'm saying? Plus, remember, it's this action that allows the person to actually have space. It's funny, it's the squeezing in that lets you lengthen and have space. Okay? The mind wants space. And it wants concentration. So when you activated kidney 6 and found the space between your legs, what you also found is what we might call, in the yogic tradition, you'll call mula bandha. Okay? Mula bandha is your perineum. Not checking on anybody, thank you. It's that lift in the perineum, so what women might call Kegel exercises. Okay, I don't know if it's the same because I'm not a woman. Okay, I can't tell you if what they teach women, for pregnancy, it's that lifting of the perineum is exactly the same. It has nothing to do with muscles. Okay, it's a thought pattern that lifts. Okay, so next. Okay, let's get into some reflex. So just as an idea, before you treat, because before there's 5 organs, okay, there has to be yin-yang. So there has to be some communication between heaven and earth. So that's what this is. Give the organs some space to exist. We'll see, I'm sure we'll see it. So, some reflexes that we have in the body, we call REN 17 if you press and they say ouch. Okay, we call anxiety. Don't worry if it's anxiety or worry or whatever. It's a problem. Okay, so you want to treat it. REN 15 we officially call worry reflex. It's a little less common, but what you do have that's fairly common are tight diaphragms. Then we have REN 9, which we used to call sadness reflex. But what I found in the last say 15 years is lots of people have pulsing. We press around the navel anywhere, but we call REN 9 pulse. They'll have a pulse. There is a weakness in the mesentery. You should not be able to feel the aorta from the front. It's absurd. Okay? I mean, it means that there's a weakness in the lower dantian. That belongs to Mushu for me. If you ask Kiiko about Ren 9 pulse, she'll say right side stomach 24, left side GB 26. I'm sorry, but so many people I talk to say to me, it doesn't work. You're saying the same thing, it doesn't work. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So many people say, I don't understand why she says that. It doesn't work for me. And they say, yes, I know, 80 degrees outwards. We've tried many things, and sometimes you can get a better. Mushu does a great job when a person has Ren 9 pulse. Ren 9 pulse is a basic finding in the body you cannot ignore. If somebody has an aorta that you can feel at the surface, your hand goes gup, 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 it's a big problem. Okay? And of course the emotions are residing in the blood. So what it says, metaphorically what it says, the heart cannot contain the emotions. Therefore they're showing in the other fire organ, which is the triple warmer. Okay, so it shows in the
It's like
midnight.
an excess in the aorta?
Sorry?
It's like an excess in the aorta?
It doesn't have to be.
Besides
It could be.
thinking.
It could be. We have different metaphors. It could be an excess in the aorta, or it just could be that the mesentery tissue, the wrappings of the organs, okay, which is really what the character Zhang means, is that wrapping, okay, is weak. Okay, so there's a weakness somewhere, whether it's an emotional weakness or whether it's a lower dantian weakness, hard to, you're going to might want to determine, but either way, this feeling is not a good thing. Okay, so no, and you'll be surprised how many people have it. Now, I've been doing this stuff for almost 25 years. We used to barely find this. It was very rare. Well, you're looking at me like this, because apparently you're finding it a lot. Were you around in the 90s doing this style? Okay, did you find Ren 9 pulse? Yeah?
Not as much as these days, but...
Okay, not as much. Did you study with Kiiko by any chance? Okay. Did Kiiko talk about Ren 9 pulse a lot in the 90s?
Yes.
You don't remember? She talked about it, but it was like, no, really? In the 90s.
In the 90s, no. I
Oh,
saw her 2
I know
weeks
she
ago.
talks about it a lot now.
About
In
now.
the 90s. Okay. It wasn't a big deal. What was a big deal in the 90s? Do you remember, those of you who studied the 90s? Oh, Ketsu. Who cares about a Ketsu now? I mean, it exists, we do it, and I'm sorry if this gets into the overly Kikoized situation. Because I'm trying to make it open for everyone, not just for the RAN students, sort of thing. Ketsu was the big deal. In the 90s was the era, Clinton era, first Clinton, rather. Okay. Maybe there'll be a second, I don't know. The .com era, okay, the internet just started, everybody was having extra wine and cheese, everything was fine. Of course we had a little bit stagnation, right? What happened 2000, 2001, three things. I can only speak about America because I live in North America. I can't speak about what happens in the rest of the world. By the way, I teach also in Indonesia. Very different stuff happens there. You can see it in the body. Suddenly, around 2000, adrenal shock became much more prevalent than it ever has been before. And Oketsu just kind of slowly disappeared. Okay, why? 2000, we had Y2K. There was a big economic collapse, or perception of big economic collapse. Mm-hmm. Then we had elections. Who won those elections in 2000? No, he didn't. I'm sorry. No. Gore won the election. Bush got in. That's a huge shock for the American psyche. That we believe in financial stability. We believe in democracy. We export democracy, by the way. We believe in safety. Our safety, not everybody else's, but our safety. Those three things collapsed. 2000, 2001. The last straw is 9/11. America has never experienced an invasion on its own ground. I mean, Pearl Harbor, first of all, Hawaii was not a state, so a little bit different. It's a huge American psyche. The bodies have changed as a result. So you can see, we're talking about medicine that's 2,000 years old. What makes you think that the points should be where they are? That's what they said 2,000 years ago. They keep changing. If Li Shi Jen can change points, so should we. Yeah, I mean, no, it's an interesting concept for us to kind of like not get too attached to where things are. So as a result, in the early 2000s, we started seeing lots of adrenal, okay, just below kidney 16. Why? Kidney shock, blah, 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 right? Everybody understands. Do you remember the kidney channel? Okay, do you remember when you were in school, or if you're still in school, there is a big problem with the kidney channel. Kidney channel starts at the big toe, comes to kidney 2, circles around the ankle, comes into the perineum, comes up the spine, and something doesn't work. Because you're thinking kidney 11 up to 27, but the description of the channel doesn't substantiate your idea. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. The description of the channel says comes up the spine, goes down to the kidney, penetrates the kidney, goes down to the bladder, and comes up and circulates the throat. That's literally what it says. It does not have anything to do with a pubic bone going up. So what happens is kidney 16, which is called Huang Shu, okay, Huang means missing, dead, in the body. Okay, so the shu of something that's missing in the body, which we often, just for your general knowledge, interpret as being ancestral, because your ancestors are not in your body directly. They are, but they're not. They're in your body, but they're not. Okay, so we interpret that to be something genetic. That's our interpretation of Huang, genetics. Huang points to us have to do with genetics. UB43, kidney 16, they're all, UB53, Huang points. Okay, the ones that you interpret as, space between heart and pericardium. That is not part of the character. I don't know where it came from. I have no idea why they say that. I'm not saying wrong. I'm just saying I can't find that interpretation. So, kidney 16 is called Huang, something missing, and it's a shu point. There's 2 shu points that are outside the bladder line. Well, it's actually a shu off the shoulder on the small intestine. I don't count that. It's kind of local. I mean, there's Huang Shu, kidney 16, and Fu Shu, the shu of the Fu organs, kidney 27. Okay, shu must be a very important character, right? To move things, to transport. I mean, come on, we only have it on the organ shoes. Okay, so how come these 2 points are so important? So what happens is the kidney channel comes up into the perineum, comes up the spine into L2, into Mingman. Okay. Then it goes down, and it also goes up. It splits at kidney 16. If you have a fear or shock, what happens? Okay. Kidney 16 gets traumatized. You ask about PTSD, shock types things. Right under, as the channel goes down, because now the whole channel wants to go down, it doesn't want to go up. Remember, fear pulls down. Okay, so as it goes down, it's going to show right below kidney 16. So if we say Ren 9 is 12 o'clock, Ren 6 is 6 o'clock, and kidney 16 is 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, we say 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock is where adrenal shock will show. Okay. Okay, that was adrenals, but so when you have Ren 9 pulse, it's very important to treat the kidneys, to treat Mushu. Then, if you like, you can add stomach 24 on the right side. Stomach 24 is called slippery flesh gate. You have slippery flesh here, right? It's good. Slippery. Okay. So Nagano said, I believe he chose on the right side because we consider right side blood side. I know it's a huge controversy. You consider the left side blood side. If we have time, I'll explain to you why we have different sides. Okay. Anybody with any of these disorders that we had before, the depression, the anxieties, the panic attacks, there's a good chance they'll show something between T3 and T7. Do I have the right slide? Yes. Because that has to do, it's just the way the autonomic nervous system is built. So they're going to show above diaphragm shu line up to about T2, T3. There's a good chance around the spine. I am a big Huato person. Kiiko is much happier, is happy to do the do. I generally don't find a lot in the do. That's me personally. I also needle the Huatos a little further away from other people. Okay? They're not as close to the spine. We tend to needle them, I needle them a lot towards the spine. Kiiko likes to do them upwards, and I will do sometimes a combination of towards and up. The big exception is T11, T12, which we call sugar points, in case you were not aware, and I'll explain that in a moment. I definitely want to do them upwards because so many people sink around T11, T12. I need to lift the ribs up. You need to give them a little help. Okay, so that one I definitely do down. L5 we do downwards. There's no question. There's no style here. There's no Avi versus Kiiko kind of thing. Definitely both of us, as far as I know, do it downwards. Okay, left UB43 can show. Okay, where do we have one of the big plexuses of the autonomic nervous system? Pacemaker. It's going to show UB43. So one of the things, well, the reason I'm showing you these things is because, you know, honestly, in a morning, it's hard to give you a whole style. I mean, it's impossible, obviously. I want to give you some ideas of how to look at the body differently. Start combining your Western understanding with Chinese. It's totally fine. There's nothing. Where do you think the Chinese got their stuff? From India. You know, they developed it. But there was acupuncture in India 5,000 years ago before there was in China, according to what I'm told. You know, there's nothing wrong with combining. And then they went and got, oh, this was from the northern and this one's from Vietnam. They got some ideas. You know, it doesn't have to be pure. You know, just because we have some, you know, otherwise we'll spend our whole lives talking about spleen dampness and we don't even understand what it means. Have you ever been in a rice field? How do I know what spleen dampness means? You know, really, we have to make the language alive. In us. Yes.
What's the positive result for these reflexes? T3 and T7 and
okay. These are okay. Sorry. So let me explain. I check these are reflexes that are likely to show in psychospiritual issues. Then I fix them through other points. So I use the reflexes to diagnose, and like some people take the pulse and they say, "Wow, this," you know, and then they needle and they say, "Wow, pulse better." If you're capable, fine. I can't. Okay? Most of the people I know, even the Toyohari people, can't really do it. I mean, they can do teeny little stuff, but because the pulse changes all the time, how can you be sure I touched the point? So I need a confirmation. You know, like, what am I going to do with my patient? I have some idea. You know, you can have an idea about from your 10 questions or whatever, however you arrived at your diagnosis, you have some idea. Now, how do you test that it's really, you know, the right thing to do? Okay, so I'll show you on a real person how this all works. I just want to give us some common language.
Yeah,
some
but
common
what is
concepts.
pain that you elicit?
Yes, I press, in the abdomen I can press up to the depth of one knuckle. But here in the chest, it doesn't go in. Okay, so you press if they say, ouch, uncomfortable, or you might feel weird. You know, then you develop a sense for it. But you ask the patient, because if you ask the patient goes, wow, much better, it's the placebo effect. You know, wow, it works. If you tell them, Mr. X, your pulse now is much better, your spleen dampness is much smoother. It's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But if they say, oh, wow, it's gone, you do a good job, don't you? You know, they like that.
It makes a big difference.
What makes a big difference?
The fact that the patient
Participates? I do, because that's the only way I work. I don't work any other way. I don't
need
take
this confirmation that making him participating is
Yes,
one
I
of the
think
goals?
it is. I think it is. It the only thing that matters? No, but does it matter for some people? Yeah, because it gives them. How many people go to doctors and the doctor gives them a pill and they go, I don't know if this is working. I don't know. This doctor says this dose. This doc, you know. I mean, this way they're in control. The patient in my clinic is in total control. They will tell you if they're getting better. I never tell them you're getting better. Do you know what I'm saying? So most patients like that. There are some patients who can't handle it. Too much for them to deal with. I don't know if it's better. It's a little bit better. I don't know if it really hurt. I don't, you know, that kind of person automatically autonomic nervous system thing. No, I'm telling you, a person that raises my blood pressure gets blood pressure treatment. I am the best monitor of autonomic nervous system types. Trust me, it works. I mean, it sounds like a joke. It's actually, because the person that pisses me off is the kind of like, is the pain here, pain here, pain here? No. They take my hand. Let go of my damn hand. It's like they won't let you. They're like control freaks in a sense, and they can't define what's happening to them. It's not their fault. It's their nervous system. So the person that you do everything you can, and they can't tell you if it's better, and it's okay if it's not better, but and it takes them forever to tell you. It's like it's like I'm already I'm in total parasympathetic mode by that point. They get under the third toe. That's our blood pressure point. Okay, they are clearly sympathetic. They are an autonomic nervous system, problem. They can't relate to the body. They don't have the right connections. Okay.
T3 is the interspace between the two.
Sorry.
T3 and T7.
Don't take it so literally. Take it as T9 to T1.
What is it? The interspace between the vertebrae?
Anywhere around the vertebrae. No, usually not the space between. It's often right next to the vertebrae. You'll feel like there's an extra, like somebody took chewing gum and stuck it to the vertebrae and it dried there, and you feel like, extra tissue, like dried up tissue. It's weird. Or sometimes it's not so dried.
And it's standard?
It's totally standard. You poke around people and you will find it on literally anybody.
No, is it tender? Is it tender?
Is it tender? Sometimes it is. I mean, you're looking for tenderness so that the patient can give you feedback. Yes. But if you find weirdness, that also counts. Okay? All right. Then, yes.
Small question. You do behind the third toe always under the third toe, even if the pulse is slow?
No, we'll get there. If the pulse is tight pulse, thin, wiry, disappears on pressure, then you can do third toe, under third toe with slow pulse. It's not a point for slow pulse. We'll get there.
Okay.
Okay? So let me just run through a little bit more material so we can, Anybody watch Star Trek New Generation? Jean-Luc Picard. Yes, apparently yes. Okay. There was a species, here, it doesn't really matter. There was a species in Star Trek, they were called the Cardassians. And whoever designed their costume was a brilliant guy. I actually the reason I like it is I treated his wife in Los Angeles once in a class, and I said, like Cardassians, this guy must be a genius, and the guy in the back, it's his wife. He just brought her for the treatment. That's me. Los Angeles, Hollywood. So, they had huge pipes here, right? Angry people. They're the Nazis of the 24th century, right? They're angry fuckers, basically. Okay, like this. I don't know if I can make it look like that, but when the SCM is tight, your emotional life is tight. Why? Because the SCM, underneath goes the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve is a parasympathetic nerve. If you're stopping parasympathetic feedback to the organs, you're gonna be like this. Now, some people by nature, that's my nature, they'll be like this, okay? Just like Kiiko. No, sorry, didn't say it. Some people by nature are like this, and some people by nature, they look very quiet, but underneath, they're tight. Right? So you're thinking type A or type B. These definitions don't make sense. It doesn't matter. So some of the definitions, even Nagano, because he worked in the 50s, he liked this nervous system that's two-sided, yin-yang. The nervous system, we now know that it's not just parasympathetic, it's sympathetic. We used to think either sympathetic or para. Okay? We now know there's more than that. There's the enteric nervous system. It's not so simple. Okay? But there is some truth to it. Nonetheless, and it's still useful clinically. So SCM tightness shows on a lot of these people. The scalings, what do you tell, if you're not an acupuncturist, and people come to you with all these disorders, PTSD, anxiety, panic attacks, blah, 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 what do you tell them? Sit, relax, release, breathe. Some of them do. You know why? No. Some people like to breathe. They're not comfortable with breathing, but also there's an implication that they're angry. When you're angry, do you like somebody to tell you, excuse me, you're angry, would you relax? You feel like you're in a 5-year-old kindergarten. It's like the first thing, do you want to sit and relax and breathe? No, you want to punch the person who told you that. So you have to somehow offer that without doing it. Now, since we're not psychotherapists, it doesn't matter. That's not my job to teach you, to talk about. How do we coax the patient into relaxing? We stick the needles in and they do it, they relax themselves. But because the breathing and scalenes are breathing muscles, they're super important. So some people are not going to show the SCM, but they're going to show here.
See that all up.
Scalenes? Of course. Because again, it's part of the times changing. How I talked about from Oketsu to adrenal to Ren 9. I don't know what's next, by the way. It's very hard to tell. But it's because that's anticipating the culture. But it's possible that scalenes will be one of the next things, because it is getting more prevalent. I think partially because we're all doing this. Okay, so there's going to be a big component, already there's a big component of this structurally, and because of the use of the eyes, we see more and more tight diaphragms. Okay, so these are just things, the eyes, for example, we use UB2 a lot. We didn't used to. It's a huge point, UB2, for us. By the way, UB1, in Ling Shu, if you literally look, do a scan, look for Ming Men. Right, Ming Men is most important thing in the body, right? The gate of your destiny, right? Look for it in the Ling Shu. You find 4 references, which are really 2 references, because in each reference it repeats it twice, and both times it talks about the bladder channel. That the bladder channel, the origin and what do they call the branch and the source and the branch, something like that. That it goes to Ming Men. Ming Men is in the eye. That sentence appears twice in Ling Shu, and that character Ming Men never appears again in Ling Shu. Ming Men is in the eye. We use UB2 because it's easier for us. Your destiny has to do with your eyes. How do you perceive pain? How do you perceive anxiety, depression? How do we see the world? If I see the world as a fucked up world, I think I'm going to get a little anxious or depressed. So the eyes have a huge impact on that. Okay, make sense? So neck, very important to release. Also, don't forget the neck is the connection between the brain and the body. Okay? If this is all congestion, the brain may not get enough oxygen, for example. You will get depressed. You will get tired. Okay? So it's very important to release the neck. Don't ignore. And also, the Chinese call this area anyan. Okay, good sleeping. Okay, the occiput is very important to release. So let's. So remember I told you in this system, don't just release. Don't say, okay, Avi said Ren 17 anxiety. She came for anxiety. Do you have Ren 17? No, you don't have anxiety. No, sorry. Avi said also can be in the back. Or Avi said Ren 15, Ren 9 can be interchangeable. Okay. Oh, she has them. Now, let me fix Ren 15, spleen 5 plus pericardium, because that's the dogma. This is not the style. The style is to look at what is the first injury of the person that they're stuck in. Open it up to provide them space to handle the current situation. Okay? So, what's related to all these disorders, these emotional issues, depression, anxiety, panic disorders? Often, very clearly from a Western perspective, we will say there's an autonomic nervous system disorder. The nervous system is maybe fried. Maybe they had a shock. So nervous system and adrenal shock, for example, are highly correlated. Okay? Maybe it came slowly. It started as an immune problem. The immune problem then pulled on the adrenals. The adrenals got weak. Eventually they stopped pulling. It's hard to live for 10 years with something like Lyme disease, chronic fatigue. So these people, they come to the clinic and they all have a certain personality. I don't know in the States they do. I don't know if you have Lyme's here. But I know you have chronic fatigue and pain over... Fibromyalgia. They generally, there's a certain they're difficult patients mentally.
Yes.
They're heavy on you. They're not defining themselves as, psychological patients, but you're often looking, oh my God, what's going on? It's because the immune system goes down, pulls in the adrenals, that pulls on the nervous system. It makes sense. The opposite, by the way, can happen too. It can start with an adrenal, with a shock, or it can start with a nervous system disorder, and it will move into an immune problem. Totally possible. Those three are highly correlated. And add to that thyroid, to that trio. Okay, you'll see that in a slide in a second. So autonomic nervous system is something to consider. Let me just go through the slide. Thyroid, do not forget to check thyroid, even on men. Thyroid is more common in women, generally, but it's possible for men. Not very common, but check it. And then sugar imbalances, look, whatever you put in your body, you just have to experiment. Eat lots of chocolate. Okay, have a party and see what you feel like half an hour later. Okay, it sucks. Okay, you're going to feel heavy. You are going to feel depressed. Okay, if you have too much sugar. Everybody's too much sugar is different. You want to counter it? Take some yogurt in the midst of that sugar blues, and chances are it will pick you up a little bit. Not a huge amount. There's only so much. The enteric nervous system is extremely important. Okay, so all that stuff, all that fermentation, that even though the sugar hasn't reached the small intestine yet, okay, there's a process that's already happening in the small intestine, and that secretion is, messing up with the enteric nervous system, sending, something back to the brain. So you can see that the Chinese understood. Ren 4, move the small intestine. What's the character saying? Head. Has to do with primary. Guan Yuan. Yuan is the head. Okay, so sugar is very important. Okay, of course something to do with the diet, but we have a sugar type. Okay, these are people who will have like flaccid muscles often. Because you eat so much sugar, you're always ready to go, and then it goes. Ready to go, go. Ready to go. So eventually it just ends either in tight calves, for example, that's how you diagnose diabetes often. Somebody comes and says, I have always tight calf, or everything is flaccid. All the muscles are just like, ugh. Okay? So sugar is very important to check on these people and to try and take it out of their diets. Okay? And there's another one that's related to sugar that happens more with women who gave a lot of birth, or had uterus removed, or they pee a lot. If they've had 8 kids, and we call visceraptosis. So it shows in the inguinal, or they have huge breasts or huge belly, and it all falls. So it pulls on the back. They'll often come for back pain. Okay, that's a part. We use stomach 13 for that. That's a possibility also sometimes in depression. And the pattern we call stagnant blood in the head. That's the one that's related to Ren4. Stagnant blood in the head shows around D20. It can be pain. It can be puffy. I can't move my skin, but some people you can move the skin. Okay, that's puffy. Or it can be heat. Yes, you want to check especially if you had postpartum depression. So these are the things that we want to consider other factors. You had a question? Yes.
Well, you talk a lot about parasympathetic transit nervous system, and while I found myself taking the cases, some of it has to do with skin, stomach, and some of it is. Well, you're not talking as much Chinese.
I don't talk Chinese. Do I look to you like I'm Chinese? I can talk Chinese. I'm not supposed to talk Chinese.
In Chinese terms.
I don't. Oh yeah. So one of the marks of Kiiko's style is we do not talk Chinese. We talk Western. Nagano talked Western. We use the Chinese ideas, but we're not married to them. And because in our culture, we are speaking. If you say to someone, you have hyperthyroidism. Okay, you can go and translate to Chinese medicine, heart fire, stomach fire, whatever you want. To us, it means kidney, by the way. Or hypothyroidism. Okay, we know exactly what it means. Now, let me give you a diagnosis. Mr. X, you have heart fire. Mr. X, you have spleen G deficiency with dampness. Which one means anything to a person in the street? this Chinese means nothing, right? Chinese is a philosophical medicine, and we should respect the fact that it's philosophical, which means it should not depend on the language. So, because, and these ideas of spleen dampness, spleen qi deficiency, liver qi congestion, these are one way to look at Chinese medicine, and that's perfectly respectable. Okay? Just because I don't do it doesn't mean it's wrong. These are metaphors. What's at the base of Chinese medicine? Okay, what does it mean? Yeah, you see, it gets very difficult. So it means that basically the medicine can be interpreted any way you want, in any language you want, because, for example, Pi Wei Lun, spleen stomach treatise, right? So big, spleen stomach, is not the same as, school of vomiting and purging. Okay, totally different schools see things totally differently. Wen Bing school is not the same as Shan Han Lun. Okay? In Chinese medicine, people kept talking in different terms. Everybody did something different. That's what's meant by Chinese medicine. It's a philosophical medicine. It has to fit you. If I try to talk to you in the Chinese terms, I'm not true to myself. I can't do it. I'd like to, but it's not who I am. I don't know it. I don't understand spleen dampness. Maybe if I work in the rice fields, I know theoretically, but it doesn't mean anything to me. Does it mean Chinese medicine is wrong because I don't know, because I don't use those terms? No, I can still use the medicine. And for me, it's the meridian system that's going to come into that makes a difference, that really makes it alive.
The reason for my question was, well, you say sympathetic, parasympathetic, so how there's no sympathetic ones.
No, I understand. Okay, so you want a true one-on-one translation, but that's what I'm saying. Okay, when you have, that's what we're going to get into. Okay, let's, fine. We'll do the sympathetic. What happened? Autonomic nervous system. I have a pulse. Let's start with a pulse. Very difficult because people hate pulses. Okay. This type of pulse, there is no reflex on the body that you can say, if you have this reflex, you have autonomic nervous system disorder. There is no such thing. You can say it may show under the occiput, you can say it may show on REN 17, it may show on the SCM, it may. But for sure, if you have this kind of pulse, that when you take it, it's thin and wiry. Now I'm going to call it tight pulse. The problem is you don't think about it the same way. So the pulse is thin and wiry. When you press on it, Nagano said disappeared. Avi, excuse me for being so rude, or so presumptuous, Avi says changes quality. Doesn't have to totally disappear, okay? What disappears is the quality disappeared. So I can say, wow, I'm saying exactly the same thing. I don't know if he said the same thing that I do. If at the top it's thin and wiry, and when you press on it, it widens and becomes almost like slippery, I call this tight pulse. Or it disappears altogether, tight pulse. Okay? That's Nagano considered to be an autonomic nervous system pulse. Okay? He then always distinguished rapid and slow. With normal pulse can go either way. Okay? Because treatment is a little bit different. Okay? So, next slide, I don't know how to get rid of this. So there are no reflexes, but here, yes, if you can, that'd be fabulous. But they will show a tight SCM, or when you press 1, 2, 3, 4, they'll show. They will, oops, okay,
Yeah,
we
sorry.
moved slides. Okay, so now on treatment.
The escape.
Okay, thank you. Oh, now you can do it at home. Fabulous. Thank you. They may have a tight diaphragm which may reflect on C3, because I'm sorry the Chinese didn't give us a meridian for that, but C3 is where the phrenic nerve controlling the diaphragm is. Okay, so you see, I am using, yes, very much Western terms. It can show, liver 12, it can show. Liver 12, by the way, is called Jimai, the hasty pulse. Okay, So everybody stand up. See, for me, you feeling it in your body, way more important than some cute phrase in Chinese, honestly. So, what I want you to do is, you're going to tuck under, okay, and you're going to stick your butt out, okay? And you don't have to over-exaggerate, but, tuck under and stick out, and then make it, wave it around a little bit until you get a little bit more subtle. And tell me, and then wait in tucking under. Don't use your buttocks necessarily. And then wait with your tailbone sticking out. And see what it makes you feel like. What do you feel in your body? Tailbone sticking out, what do you feel? Tailbone tucking under, what do you feel? Let the tailbone just drop, which may be very hard for you. What do you feel? Anybody? Tailbone tucking under. Well, okay. Stick the tailbone back. Stick it back. Okay. Well, interesting. You have an interesting body there. There's a misconnection somewhere. Stick your tailbone back. What do you feel? Okay.
Tension on the lower back.
What do you feel in your psyche? You feel like going somewhere, right? You're ready to run to the bus, right? Nobody runs to the bus like this, right? Old Chinese woman runs to the bus like this. You don't have Chinatown here, so it's different. If you tuck under, what do you feel? You feel like you can't go anywhere. Sympathetic, parasympathetic. Okay, it induces a certain, not complete, but it gives you a certain, so the tailbone, the position of the tailbone will induce a sympathetic or a parasympathetic state. Okay, so when you tuck under, you're pushing into liver 12, it relates to the sympathetic nervous system. The way the front of the thigh is related to the tailbone too. The tailbone and liver 12 relate to the nervous system. Okay, you can sit down. By the way, this is why, hold on one second. This position? Everybody, horse position to do, right? Why this position? So you get a chance to drop your tailbone down, and at the same time, although you're not tucking ideally, although some people will tell you to tuck, my understanding is you don't need to tuck, because your knees are bent, you can't go forward. You're here, you're quote unquote stuck here. Okay, so you had a question.
Yeah, my experience is completely different. When I do martial arts, and we always talk about you have to have your table down and forward, and that allows you to move forward with the center rather than going.
Hold on. First of all, you're confusing something. What I asked you to do was stick the tailbone down and tell me what you feel.
Well, it's that.
But you're bending your knees. Don't bend your knees.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's not what I asked you to do. I asked you to isolate the tailbone. Hold on. Give me a moment. Stick your tailbone out. Okay. Because you're breaking enough. Sorry. No, you're doing something. Yeah, don't do that. Stick your. No. You're sticking your belly out. First of all, sit on the floor. Stick your tailbone out. Yeah, like a dog. Okay, what does that make you feel? But don't move back. Don't move back. Stay on the front of the leg. Okay, thank you. Now tuck under. Why did you bend your knees? Yeah, because you're used to it. Yeah, I understand. So, but so you're not doing the so-called natural movement that will allow you to feel. I believe. It only would. So because you're doing this, it's going to change everything. But just by doing this, the tailbone's already dropping. So when you're doing this, you're not going to feel the same thing as when you're with the legs together. Most people don't walk like this. Sorry to say.
Stand up. So.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I guess.
Listen, I can't give you a whole yoga lesson. But the idea is that it will. For most people, it will. Now, by the way, what's your name? Nathan. Nathan, if it does the opposite for you, you have to go and develop your understanding from it. And it may mean that you do something very, very different acupuncturally than I do. You may see what I do when we start, and you may go, wow, this is interesting, and you can go, but my body does something different. You'll treat your patients totally opposite, possibly. That's totally fine. The medicine should be yours. It shouldn't be mine. Okay? So.
Maybe you feel the points.
Sorry?
The points you're talking about. When I'm in the sympathetic, like this, or like this.
When these are reflexes that possibly will show when the person has an autonomic nervous system disorder. Okay? Then, so just, this is like the standard way of teaching. Then, we treat. We differentiate between slow and rapid pulse. If they have, under the third toe is our main point where the toe, not hand, meets the foot, okay, in the center. However, it's better for rapid pulse. If the person has a slow pulse, you must make sure they have a tight pulse, or else don't use it. It's not a good idea. Okay? It's especially good for the occiput, okay, which is one of the areas where the autonomic nervous system can show. It switches sides, meaning you treat left side for right side. If you're checking a reflex above T7, don't use same side, use opposite side. If you're checking a reflex that's below the diaphragm, you can check same side under third toe. Okay? We use, releasing the SCM, we use triple warmer 8, opposite side. Sorry, these are the two things that have opposites in them. Generally, it's the same side. Opposite side to the SCM. So right hand, right Sanjiao 8 for left SCM. If, however, they have rapid pulse, we use triple warmer 5, again, opposite side. Okay, so triple warmer 5 for rapid pulse, triple warmer 8 for slow or normal pulse. Okay, we check pericardium 8. We have a big concept. If you have a fire point, pericardium 8 is the fire point. If it's painful when you press, we use metal and water points, because water overcomes fire, and metal is the mother of water. So metal, water to overcome fire. We're always looking to tonify and not to reduce. Okay? So we're not reducing fire, we're building up water. We're building up metal to build up water. Make sense? If pericardium 8 is not painful, we can use pericardium 6 or pericardium 4, which is 3 fingers below pericardium 3. You can see on me, you can see there's a hole here. On most people, if you touch lightly, you'll feel a depression about 3 fingers below pericardium 4. This is what we call pericardium 3. This is what we call pericardium 4. Okay? So, these are our options. So we want to treat the pericardium because to us, pericardium Sanjiao are highly related to the autonomic nervous system. But so will, by the way, kidney. Okay, so it's a combination. Yes? Pericardium 8 is painful. We use metal water, pericardium 3 plus pericardium 5. My pericardium 3 is right in the middle. Don't go to the side, like the TCM books. 3 and 5. Pericardium 8 not painful. I don't need to do metal water. I have choices. I can do pericardium 6 or I can do pericardium 4, 3 fingers below 3. How do I know? I check something in the neck and go, by the way, is this better now? Pericardium 4, does it make it better? Yeah. Pericardium 6, ooh, much better. That's how I choose which one I do, unless I have some other reason.
Same side?
Sorry? Same, well, yeah, as for the reflex, yeah. But many of these reflexes are in the middle. So you may need to find out. And one pericardium can be metal water, and the other one might be 6 or pericardium 6 or 4. Don't assume. In fact, autonomic nervous system types, one of the signs, okay, is that they will have a difference between the 2 pericardium 8s. Okay? That's if they do have, that generally puts them into autonomic nervous system types. Autonomic nervous system type, 2 questions I ask them. One, I feel their hands, they sweat easily. That's an autonomic nervous system type. Blood pressure person, autonomic nervous system type. not sleeping well often, or waking up lots, or I can't go to sleep before. Some people they don't go to sleep early. They can't. They switch between. During the day they want to sleep. At night they want to. I'm an artist. I only work at night, kind of thing. It's It's not just an artistic venture. It's also a nervous system. That there's something that's not quite correct. It doesn't adjust. And the other thing is, I usually ask them if somebody I want to know if they get startled easily. Since many people are not going to respond honestly, what you do is, because they don't know what you mean by startle, and they may not want to tell you. Okay, so I ask them something like, if somebody starts a motorcycle behind you, do you jump? Okay, that's a startle response. Okay, so you get an idea if they get startled easily or not. מפחד בקלות.
Avi?
Yes.
You use the kidney one for...
Kidney one?
Kidney one for class 8?
No. No. If I do, I think... Okay, not going to ahead and... no. Kawai had this thing, I would put, if I have a patient I don't know what to do with, I have a few things I can do. Okay, we all have patients we don't know what to do with, right? Nothing's working. So one of the things, for example, you can do is, Nagano said check fire points, all the fire points, and just go for metal water and see if something gets clearer after that and do. By the way, lots of Japanese practitioners will needle Ren 12 or do some Mox on Ren 12, take it out and see what happens, but they're mostly interested in the pulse because Ren 12 will make the pulse clearer. Okay. But Kawai had this thing, you can put diode rings on pericardium 8, kidney 1, wait 20 minutes, okay, and then recheck. Okay, you were hoping to get some clarity. Okay, but it's like going for the moment because the people have no clarity. I want to talk about the ones that I can talk about with clarity first. Okay.
Can you say again if you have sensitivity in pericard 8 and if you don't, the difference between treatments?
Pericardium 8, painful. Please, this is the one thing that's worth remembering. Mm-hmm. Pericardium 8 or any fire point is painful. Mm-hmm. Do the metal and the water points. Because water overcomes fire and metal is the mother of water. It's a way of tonifying rather than reducing. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, if pericardium 8 is not painful, you can do pericardium 6 or 4, which is 3 fingers below 3. Okay, you have a choice. How do you know which one? Which one does a better job for the reflexes? Okay, that's what the reflexes are there for. So you can evaluate. Okay.
But the reflexes also contain the sensitivity in pericardium 8?
But pericardium 8, first of all, your pericardium 8 is a little low. Pericardium 8. Okay. Pericardium 8 is a reflex in a way, but fire points, two things. Remember I told you, the trick is not to fix one reflex, the trick is to fix them all. This is an indication of which points to use in the pericardium, which you already decided because you have reflexes or ideas that they're autonomic nervous system. Now you want to know which point is the most effective. Pericardium 8 will tell you, please use metal water or not. Then, if you use metal water, yes, some people, pericardium 8 will go away. Some people not. You can't. Fire points do not always go away that fast, whereas abdomen will. Okay? Let's just get a person here because I know there has to be a break. Let me get a person for a second. This is somebody who's not going to get treated. I just want to show you what I do, and I want to show you something about reflexes. Can I get? Are you happy to come? Come on over. So you can come as close as you like. I don't know anything about her right now. We're just, and you're after the break. Right down. Face up. So, this is abdomen. Now, I press. I start with around spleen 15, unless you have ulcerative colitis or anything like that. Okay.
I think it was better that everyone sit down and
but they
look, because now we can...
No, there's still space here. Come. Honestly, there is space. Because if you're, I don't think you can see if you're so too far back. Come on.
בואו מאחורה גם.
You have to give space for others because you just came in.
I'm going back.
Come, you can stand behind me. Come, and the ones right here. If you can kneel. Or let the flexible people kneel in the front. All right. Since she has nothing in the descending colon, chances are she needs to know what my fingers feel like. So, hi. This is okay? Nothing special. This is what my fingers feel like.
You started with
Spleen 13, 14 on the left side because generally most people don't have anything there unless they have ulcerative colitis or something in the descending colon. So they need, because otherwise they don't know what my fingers feel like. How do I know who they are? You know, like they could say, ouch, ouch, ouch everywhere. Okay. Now, so I start left stomach 26, 27. She has Ren 9 pulse because I can feel it already. And if I press here, do you see? No, it's hard to see my finger. I can feel you can feel your pulse, right? Okay. So she has Ren 9 pulse. Let's see how far it goes up. Yes, it's still here. Do you have cardiac history in the family? No. Good. The reason I'm checking, because hers goes so far up. No, but here I can still feel it. You can see my finger here? Middle finger?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, it's moving with the pulse. That's huge amount above the elbow, the navel. That you have to worry. Maybe aneurysm, something. It's better to have that checked because it's above Ren 12. I'm a little bit like, whoa, wait a second, why? You know. So okay, so hi, nothing, right? Anything here? Anything here? So I'm checking adrenal. Reflex. 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock, below kidney 16, nothing. Hi, anything here? No. Okay. Under the ribs right side, under the ribs left side. That's how I diagnose liver. Or liver 14. Any difference?
No.
Why are you smiling?
A little bit, but no.
A little bit. A little bit here. Yeah? Okay, fine. But not. Okay. Hi, Ren 17.
No.
No, okay. SCM, just so that you see. Hi, 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
3.
Please again.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. 3 fingers. I don't stick them in. I just flat. 1, 2, 3. This side. 3 this side.
Yes.
But not this side. Israelis, they, you know. I've been in the army. I don't know. What do you mean? I don't know. The neck in the back. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Okay. So possibly phrenic nerve. 1, 2, 3. No. Yes? 3. Okay. Phrenic nerve. Well, now, would you like to tell us what's going on with you in life, just for the sake of it, so we can correlate a little bit?
Anxiety, worry.
Okay, fine. So, just to show you, she didn't have a lot of reflexes. She had Ren 9 pulse, okay, and a little bit here.
Yeah.
This is a little tall for this, but why do we use the abdomen? Because, lift your legs, bend. Excuse me. Don't overbend me. Let me do it for you. Okay. Because if I stretch her abdomen, stretch the mesentery this way, the reflexes will go. Why? Because I stretched the fascia. Okay? So getting rid of the reflex, I don't do this with patients. Getting rid of the reflexes, you still, this you can't get rid of.
Yeah.
I know. But this you had a little bit, right?
Yeah.
How's now?
Better.
Better. You can get rid of reflexes by doing nothing with acupuncture. Irrelevant. Okay? So, excuse me, I just want to... So, let's try up to now she has SCM, bottom of the SCM. She has the Ren 9 pulse is the biggest thing for me. She has, by the way, she just moved what I wanted to show you. Look at, it's fine, no. Look at her legs. Do these legs look like they're... No. So by the way, stomach 41 may be an interesting point for her because that's the axis. So we just have to kind of guess, because and you have your bumps there. Okay. All right. So let's see. Starting mushu. Okay. No, it's nothing. Mushu. Okay? You had nothing here anymore. Anything Ren 15? A little. Okay, fine. When I press Mushu, how is Ren 15?
Fine.
Fine, okay. When I press Mushu, not pressing, you had here, right? When I press Mushu, how is SCM? Nothing, okay? It's a huge deal, and it's way underestimated by all the people in the Kiiko style world, which is the world I'm in, okay? They don't do it. I don't get it. And they all laugh at it, and they all say, Avi, you're so in love with it, because I teach they go, why are you always in love with Mushu? It's like, why don't you ask Kiiko why she's in love with 216? We all fall in love with whoever we fall in love with. What can you do? Okay.
Can you show Mushu on that side?
Yes, I will. Hold on.
How deep you?
Mushu, you can go a little deeper, so you can see from the guide tube how deep it was. So half its on, I don't know. Now, you also have this guy here, right? And you have here, right?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Hi, Monsieur Mushu.
On the same side?
Same, yeah, it affects nothing. And how is this one? Nothing, okay?
But here it's...
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not a reflex, it's a treatment. No, okay. You don't feel your pulse anymore. Interesting.
Yeah.
Who was it that agreed with me about stomach 24? I can't remember where you are. She was, yeah. Mushu, I'm telling you, Mushu is so much better for Ren 9 pulse. Okay, so level with Ren 4 all the way to the side.
Wow.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
And see the light.
Where was the, you asked me, do you see this response? Now, of course, in a class, they always exaggerated these responses. There's lots of people around them. This kind of responses makes them feel better. Like, wow, amazing, because they don't have this experience of like somebody, they have this experience. Oh, yes. Stand with the table and under, very good for you. They have this experience of people talking mythology to them, whether they're doctors or acupuncturists or whatever. We're taking this, and this is exactly why I speak Western. I want to take it and demystify the whole fucking thing. I'm not interested in my grandfather gave me a secret recipe and you'll never get it until I die. It sucks. I'm sorry, it makes no sense. How can you learn anything when everybody does this, separation? To connect with the world means no separation. Why are we separating all the time? Why are we separating my knowledge? I mean, it's great if you're a great pulse taker, which I'm not. Okay? But it's very difficult for the patient to relate to. I'm connecting with them so much faster by doing. Some of them don't like it when I'm poking, granted. Okay? So just, I know this is like really fast because we're before the break and I'm sorry, but do you see, I just want you to get the gestalt of how I work. This is not a treatment. Okay, I'm letting you know right now, this is not how I treat. Okay, I will go into the medical history. There's a whole different way of working. This is just to show you mechanically what I do. Okay, and my beloved Mushu, Netzach and Hod together. So I couldn't help it. No, people ask me how come I always start on the right side because everything else we start on the left side. I start Mushu on the right side. So I tell them that it's because of my Hebrew background, I have to do Netzach then Hod. You have to have a victory first before you can have before you can glorify, because before you can praise, you have to be victorious over yourself. So you don't have to believe it. It's ultimately, I don't know if it's true or not. So, are you okay? Okay. So. Let's think about it as a 10-minute break because I know how it goes. 10 minutes turn to 30. But I will start in 15 because, it's very hard to do it. Now that we're going to start having people on the table, we can also move, if you would like, we can move the tables further there and disperse the chairs a little bit. So, because we're a small class, and we can have 2 tables, and we can just basically have fun.
Yeah. Right.
Okay? So come back at